Good morning, everybody. Happy Moonday. So I'm hoping this works because I can't see it on my control panel here. And I can't see if this is clear or not. But what we have here is trying to get kind of everything organized. It's going to be kind of a weird day because I'm not quite done with my new monolith here. So everything is still kind of rough and not working like I want it to. I'm missing this light right up here, the little things like that. It's plugged in. It's not even plugged in. So I don't know if you guys out there can see or hear me. I can't tell if I'm distorted or not. I think I might be distorted. I think my audio might be distorted. I have to see. Move this up like this. There we go. So if anybody's out there who can hear me, go ahead and give me a holler. We're going to work today a little bit on Bellatrix Rising, and that's what the battle plan is for today. We've got some interesting concepts that we're going to work on. We're going to work on the idea of using blocks from DAS and building them as a 3D object. So that's what our main thrust of the day will be today. I'm going to look real quick here. I have a folder called Curiosities, right? And it's out of my drives. I'm now looking at all of my old drives. Everything's so weird. So if you can hear me, beep twice. No, beep once. Beep once for yes and twice for no. So that'll be a thing out on my 1.5 tera drive. We've got this, sort this all back in stuff. So we're going to look at, not that one, the other one. This is the D drive, or this is the new Google Drive. Guys, personal stuff. Morgan reference. We're going to look at backdrops from Macross here for this, because I like the feel of Macross, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to work kind of on that. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to do some of this stuff here. This is G drive. Actually, we're not going to do that. Let's go out to our OneDrive. Reference. Backgrounds. Somewhere in here, we're going to have backgrounds from Macross. Make them backgrounds. Just wondering. Right? So, we're going to just get an idea of what sort of things we had in Macross that were useful. Okay, so we're going to go down here. So I see that there are a couple of viewers out there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? That's the question. Can you hear me? So if you guys could respond in the thread and say, yes, I can hear you, or no, I can't hear you, that'd be great, because I've set it for my rig, and my rig should be, I'm showing green lights on the board, so I should be seeing it up here, but again, I'm not seeing oh, I am seeing it now. I am seeing movement here. That works. Okay. So we'll have to see whether this works or not. I don't know. We'll have to see. So, okay. There's that. Not sure what that means, but okay. I need to set up all of these so that they're all in different locations so that I can easily find them, which is something that, maybe we'll have some morning where we do organizing of things. I saw 3 viewers and they're all gone now, which means I'm wondering whether I'm being heard or not. I don't see any of my normal viewers here today, so we'll have to see. There we go, Macross. So let's talk a little bit about Macross. So we're going to look at Macross because I like the aesthetic of Macross. So we're going to do Macross-esque buildings. And that's what these are. So over here, we're going to have to first figure out, I actually do not know. I legitimately do not know which side goes to which. And Daz Studio is not installed. Well, we may have to rotate this. We'll see. We're going to do our best today. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so this is us doing our very, very best today. All right. Now I'm looking at this photo of Macross. And what I'm seeing is kind of an interesting design concept here. I'll show you what we got going on here. Let's share our screen. Okay. So looking at this, which is kind of what our inspiration is, I'm going to actually open this with Photoshop. So let's go ahead and do that. Because what we're going to look at is this part of these 2 pieces right here, and maybe this guy right here. Now, these are just backgrounds of Macross. So we're going to do that. I'm going to copy and move them here, because we don't need more than this. And maybe I'll take the we'll do page 2. This is from a book that I have, which this has a lot of the interiors and things like that, which give a little bit more feel of what's going on and stuff like this. There. A lot of the stuff that I do is we're trying to make something similar to what Macross was, right? So I want this aesthetic. And by the way, people, there shouldn't be music yet. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to do all of them roughly the same size so that I don't have to worry about it, you know. There we go. this. We're going to go E. And that makes this all one critter, right? I'm going to take then, I'm going to say, we're going to go in here. We're just going to look at like this section right here. We're going to say filter. We're going to say noise. We're going to do median. The median is going to just get rid of a lot of the chatter on this by doing a 2-pixel median around it. This smooths out a lot of this chatter. We'll be able to see a lot more about this picture and not see as much of its chatter, so that's good. Okay. For right now, we're going to assume this is a left and a right. I don't think that it is. I think the cube is going to be something else, but I don't have DAZ Studio at the moment, so the new computer doesn't have DAZ involved yet, so we're going to have to work without it, which won't be a problem, but we'll get there. So, okay. What we're going to do, we're going to talk about the background here. The background has these 6 squares of the cube. I'm not sure what this bottom part is down here or why, but we're going to try to give it this aesthetic. And what we're going to do is we're just going to be doing, where did my little cloth go? There it is. We're going to give, we've gathered a lot of dust with our new computer. I'm going to clean this off real quick. There we go. Just like that. Okay. Not seeing anybody on here, which makes me think that I'm not getting any audio. Anyway, okay. So I'm going to look into this quadrant and this quadrant right up here. We're going to... It has not actually figured out where my... video card is. So one of the things I want to do is make sure that I have a very solid line. This is going to, oh man. There. I hate smart objects. Here we go. There, good. What this will allow is that whenever, good morning. Okay, good, you hear me. I had wondered whether I was being heard or not. So what we're doing here is we're doing background objects. So this is objects for when we finally get, I'm going to be putting together a map of a city block. So we're going to start with that. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be doing that. So this is down here. These are all pictures from a TV show called Macross, which you may or may not be familiar with. Some people call it Robotech. And what I've got here is I'm just going to look at the aesthetic of things in here and kind of get an idea of what I want to do. Oh, David can hear me too. Good morning, David. Good morning, Donald. Okay, good. So what we've got here is I just want to match this kind of aesthetic. See how it's kind of got this neat little, they've got divots on them and you know, various widgets and boxes and things. I love that too. I love the series a whole lot. So I'm just matching the aesthetic here. And what we've got is we've got the part of a start of a cube going on here. So I'm just going to darken out these lines. And this is, all we're doing here is just putting in the black lines so that they can, there we go, like that. There we go. And this will ensure that when I bring the box into 3D, it'll have a line around it on all of the different areas. Ooh, except if you do it on the wrong. Oh, all of my controls are messed up. Histories. We're not going to want to be on that layer. We want to be on this layer. That's why we did that wrong. Okay. So what this will do is this will allow me to have a black line around all of the box when it comes into 3D. Sadly, I won't be able to show this to you today because DAZ is not installed just yet. I didn't install DAZ by complete accident because my new computer I didn't get to it in time. So there's that. We need to do that. So you'll have to trust me on this one, guys, that I know what I'm doing. There we go. So that's what we've got now is this is going to ultimately be the box that goes around whatever it is. So if we want this to be a cube, we just shrink this box in and it works. If we want this to be a non-cube, then we can stretch it out. And I'm going to stretch it out because I feel like this is a good way to sort of have just the feel of what's going on here. So we're going to look at some of the buildings here. And buildings have interesting shapes going to them. Some of these are going to be specifically made. I'm going to have to put these into like Blender or something like that to make a shape that's more like this, but that's going to have to become a UV thing, and I'm not going to mess with that for right now. That's not what we're doing today. Today we're going to do the first floor of some random building, and we're just going to make that happen. So this is the first floor. We're going to have to figure this out. And so looking at this, we've got this could be a shopping mall or a shopping thing. So we're going to go on ahead and I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. Photoshop has not identified my video card yet, so I don't have OpenGL capabilities just yet. So I'll have to figure that out. I think my drivers still need to come in. So we're going to take a line tool. We're going to define where the roof line of this is, and I think that's about here-ish. It's a very thin line. It's also on the wrong layer. You're on the wrong layer. You have to stop. You have to stop. You're on the wrong layer. But why? You're on the wrong layer. Okay. So this would be the roof line. Kind of like this look, this aesthetic here. So I'm going to kind of do that. Oh, man. I'm not going to. It's going to be very difficult for me to do that. And get used to that. Okay, so we're going to kind of do this. And actually, I think what I want to do is, rather than do that, I'm going to do this and give it a new, like that. And then that way I can just duplicate this, and then it won't be there. Like that. One thing that's great about Photoshop is it knows you're trying to do something like this, so it makes sure the little pink things are showing that they're 34 pixels apart. It figured out that these two are the same distance, so you probably want these to be the same distance and stuff like that, which is great. So we're kind of getting these little guys right here that are kind of going in, making it look somewhat like that. At least it'll look like that aesthetic whenever we see it on a street. So that's kind of where we're going on that. So we'll go ahead and flatten that down. Doot, 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 doot. Like that. I'm just going to put that line there and this line right here. Then we're going to do the same thing all the way down. Okay, and this is going to give us just this like ongoing structure thing going on. It's giving that aesthetic. The other thing I wanted to do was take the rounded tool and go like this. Right? And that's just giving something else that's just happening along the top. Good morning, Paul. How are you doing? Oh man, this is becoming an issue. There we go. Okay, so we're just getting sort of an idea of things going on here. Looking at some of these other aesthetics that are along here, I see that that line along the top is much thicker. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a bigger line, like so. Right, and that way it kind of has more of a thick line effect going on there. Then I'll add another line right here, and this just adds the aesthetic to it, like that. That just gives it a little bit of something to look into. You're going to Yellowstone tomorrow. That's awesome, Paul. Hunting dinosaurs, huh? Off on the old dinosaur hunt. Doing good work, man. Doing good work for science. All right. So we get kind of this aesthetic going along here, and we get kind of some stuff that's kind of, I don't know, roundish. So we're going to try to add some of that stuff into. We're just going to give that kind of feel. We've got kind of this thing going on like this. All right, let's not do that. I actually don't like either one of those rectangles. I feel like I want a gap here like this, and like that, and then over here, I actually feel like I need to add my rulers. My rulers. Come on, anybody remember how to put rulers in? I'll figure it out. It's in here. There it is, rulers. Work. All right. Go like this, put a ruler in. This helps snap to grid, like that. Three days out there in Yellowstone. Went to Yellowstone in I feel like it was 2014. Yeah, I think it was 2014. We went out to Yellowstone, went to the Black Hills, stuff like that. It was really it was a cool thing. I liked it. It was really cool. Okay, so it's important. So this is a fresh install of Photoshop. So I'm going to spend most of this morning fighting all of the defaults. I can tell already, and just getting it back to where it was on Friday. However, I am liking the smoothness. I'm noticing already that I've got a lot of good smoothness. I actually did install the XP pen drivers, which I didn't remember when I saw the XP pen drivers before. So, frankly, kind of thinking that I might have not installed the XP pen drivers the last time, which would be rather disturbing. I set the radius for 25 on this. Yeah, 25. No, you're amazed that it's 25. Okay. And what I've done here is just set that for that. I'll go like this. I'm going here. Fine. I can't get it to select. Oh, man. Okay. Yep. It is, but it's even worse when you have a brand new computer because all of your settings are kind of strange and wonky. So we're going to go for the inside at 15 pixels, right? Now we don't need to keep this anymore. And now what we have is a little window. See? It's a window. Delete. Why is the eraser on? Weird. Okay. So now we've put a little window in, and that works just fine. Figure we'll have sort of some kind of interesting little bar here, which would be sort of a sign of some sort. Like this. If this is a restaurant, these could be like menus, right? And in fact, maybe that's what I'll do is I'll zoom in way too much. I'll make these menus. Put this over here. We'll go over here and we'll just use the brush. And I'll just use my normal brush. No brushes have been installed. So all of my wonderful brushes that I have already had installed are gone. So, general brushes. We're gonna do hard round pressure size. I'm just gonna go in here and just and you won't get close enough to see that this is anything more than just gibberish, right? But it'll look good when you're far away. It'll look like something was written here, which is all we're doing. Right? Patrons must always wear blue jeans when in this establishment unless they are legitimate cowboys, and then they must wear chaps. I don't know, just thinking things out here. Here's a cowboy wearing chaps. And this is where value drawings are great. Because now you can kind of go in here and make sort of effective value drawings. General brushes. There is that. Now, what'll happen is, from far away, you won't be able to tell what that really is that much. You won't see anything more than what looks like screens that are saying things and chattering. Right? There's nothing important going on there. And what we'll do is we'll like that. Law force. So now we're going to go on ahead. I need to put in a door on this. So we're going to do the same thing we did before, because I like these rounded doors. The idea being that inside here is difficult to General Brushes is fine up until he starts, having problems with his people. Then General Brushes gets a little weird, Okay. There you go. Always something over here. All right. So now we have a door. Let's look at some of these doors. What do we have on doors? Right, here's a door. So we want some designs like this. So what we're going to do, go ahead and put the line tool in. Because these are pressure doors. The idea being you can depressurize the bay here, and it would still be fine. So we'll go ahead and make this 10 point. Well, actually just get rid of what we've got going on here. And I don't mind that I've damaged a little bit there. It's going to be hard for me to do. Okay. I'm going to do this. What we're doing here is we're just putting in a pressure door. Because we know that there's a pressure door right here. And this restaurant will seal itself in case of a decompression on the Polaris. If there's ever an emergency decompression, then this section right here will automatically seal. The patrons inside will be safe. That'll be important. And we're going to be setting up a trend for how doors look from now on. Because one thing that is important is somebody had posted on Reddit last night. Yeah, I'm going to do the awnings and windows on a different cube, because cubes are really, really, really simple 3D objects, so it'll be able to render a whole bunch of cubes, but the easiest thing about a cube is to just put a cube on top of a cube. So we'll be able to... Yes, this city is on the jump ship Polaris. It's on the top part of the jump ship Polaris, which is very much a traveling city, which mostly has the military on it. It's mostly military. Run these off here. Right. There you go. That's one of the reasons why I'm taking the aesthetic of Macross, is to evoke that feel. The story of Macross is a city in the middle of a large starship. Starship being the Super Dimensional Fortress 1. Or Macross. So I'm trying to evoke that feel here. Alright. And so this is going to be a block sitting on the top of, or sitting in the, just a block building that's sitting on the map. So this isn't one of the larger ones, so we're going to do that. But yeah, what you do to make this work is you make this the awning right here. So it'd sit above this as some kind of awning. But I was actually thinking of making this a larger block that sits on top of this block, so these two would be then rotated and lifted. Because the top and the bottoms are never going to be used for anything else, so... Problem is, I need to have Daz Studio to load this in to see what face these all are. But you'll see what this kind of looks like once we get to that point, because we're going to get to a point where we can load this into the game, or into the 3D program, and it'll look great. It'll look like a background city that's behind there. And every time you go through the block here, you'll see this same building in the right spot. The Polaris, I'll actually load the Polaris here so you can see kind of where we're going on this. We'll go to Bellatrix Rising. Okay. It's under Maps. This will take a second because, of course, it's not ready to go yet. I don't know where the Polaris is. Come on, show me the Polaris. Did I put it under ships? I must have. Yep, I did. It's funny because, of course, it's not really a ship. It's... There we go. It'll take it a second. It's got to download it. So we don't have music yet because that part isn't installed. So this is the Polaris. Looks like this. And on top is this city called Charceline. And here's like the layout. So when we get into here, we're going to be looking into like neighborhoods like this. And I'm going to be putting in this neighborhood, and I'll just be putting in these blocks right through here. so that when characters are walking down the street here, it'll make some sense. And it'll always be the same logic. Like this little neighborhood over here is really close to this military base, which is probably where they are all going to be centered. So most of the story will probably take place in this quadrant of Charceline. So I won't actually do the entire map. That's ridiculous. Until I have some character that lives in this neighborhood or is in some part of the city that isn't, But what you will see is these high rises right through here. They'll be in there. So we'll have to draw up the high rises. They'll be behind all of these buildings, so we don't have to worry about that much. And you will see the large elevator complex in the center of town, because that is this core section right through here, right? That elevator goes up to here and then goes all the way down through the middle of the ship to its launch bays. And here are the main launch bays right here, holding some of the larger ships, like the battleships live in here. And then you move down into this section where you've got cruisers and things like that. And then in this section here, you've got all the little guys. Yep. I actually think, now that I'm looking at this, I'm actually thinking quite a bit that there should be large bays that hang off of the side out here. I want this ship to look like a flower in a lot of ways, but the truth of the matter is spheres work better. And so it does kind of look like a flower. It's got the large navigational wing down at the bottom. But I feel like there will be more than just this docking port right here to this. I feel like there are docking ports along here, which would be great. And the idea here is that we've got mirrors and solar panels on this inside shell. So moving up here to where the top of the Polaris is, you've got water divots right here that hold water. And then the shell pieces come up like this, and these flower petals. And in case of an emergency or in case of something bad happening, these petals close. What I should do, though, is put in that elevator, because the elevator goes like this, right through the middle of it. Down to about 2. Should like this. And it's off-centered. And then we have the high-rises that live right here. Right. There. These high-rises are all right in the center, right around that central core. And then out here, we just have the little guys, like little buildings like this that aren't huge. But my thought process here was this ship jumps from location to location. So it ends up jumping all the way out to, 1,000 light years from home, where even at hyper distances, where the ships go into the hyperdrive, they can't make it back inside 15 or 20 years. Once there, it becomes a base station. It doesn't move. It just sits there. And then the ships can move in hyper within 5 or 6 days of the Polaris and then work an area. And they've got a number of these ships, and this is sort of how you hold space sort of thing. But under here would be these docking ports. Right? Mini shuttles that act as extrasolar collectors. And yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, it is. Like, I feel like the Polaris would just hang at some location. And it would just be there. But yeah, most of what we're going to do is going to take place right through here. Because we've got a runway, fighters can take off through this runway out the door, if you will. It would be between so the fighters can go into town if they need to for whatever reason. And they can go out of town if they need to. So we've got kind of this ability here for this. And they can go out of the I'm going to actually clean this runway up. There we go. There we go. Excellent. Just like that. And this is just indicating you need to land this way. People. Right? Large door. So if we need to get a ship out this way, we can. What I should do. A little of all of the above. We've got farms in this area down here, which have a lot of farming that's going on. So there's enough area down here to have a nice group of vegetables that they can grow and things like that. But meat is, animals are at a premium. Space is sort of at a premium. So though I think we probably would have fish in this area out here, or some kind of fish. I think a lot of it's going to end up being replicated. I do want Bellatrix Rising to be a post-scarcity environment. So nobody is struggling to find food. Nobody's struggling to find the basic resources they need to live. So they... I consider the Unity to be very much like Star Trek's meritocracy. So you're on, the merits that you make for doing the things that you do. So I'm going to do that. I did want to do some fixes on some of this stuff. Like these beaches out here probably should be actual beaches. They look like they still have this forward shell piece here. And I don't want that forward shell piece. So we're going to take that down. Glad we kind of got in here. Knew we'd need to have the Polaris up here somewhere along the line, otherwise we wouldn't see what we needed to do. So, this beachfront property right here, it's like primo property. Here's the road to the beach. Here's another road to the beach. Realizing that there's some pieces missing here. Here we go. And that's more what we want. Nope. Undo. X. Oh, it doesn't know X. I had to program that in. There we go. We'll bring this down a little more like this. We're just going to work on the beach here a little. Person's farm. That should open up to the beach right there. I feel like that there would be some criminal element to this city. Like there will be areas that are, but I feel like the criminal. Well, first of all, it is a completely military. The people here are all military to some degree, or have service to the military in some way or another. All the shops, all the shopkeepers, everything like that, they all have a reason to be on here for the military and for the military alone. So I feel like any kind of criminal element that would be here would be asking for it. I mean, it's not like there wouldn't be. Think that there would be like the weird stuff you find, like, let's say, in a large military base in Afghanistan or Iraq or Korea or in Japan, back during the war days when, just after the war, where the occupied Japanese area. I feel like we'd have that kind of thing where you've got people black market selling stuff, but for the most part, you're not going to have a real, because I mean, mostly this is a different world. This is like, Adama was talking about this in Battlestar Galactica, where he talks about the police being the military being the police. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like black markets. You can buy anything in certain parts of this town that are just black markets. But for the most part, if you have a run-in with the authorities here, you're running in with the military. You're not running in with, you're not having a run-in with just Joe Blow, just normal police officers. You're running in with the military, and that cannot end well. You know what I mean? It just won't end well. And so, okay, looking down here, this is a drop to this area. This area is lower. So I'm going to have to, this will stay a wall because up here is this upper zone. And this is a very highfalutin neighborhood up front, up here. Because this area right here is, not only is it waterfront, but it's raised waterfront. And at the end down here, you've got this great overlook that overlooks just the forward section of the ship. So at some point, these little houses out here end up on, right? So I don't know if there would be a local police. I feel like if you do wrong here, we just issue orders from the MPs, and the MPs come out and deal with you, but they're still the M part of the MPs, right? So there's a gambling section, and there's a bad neighborhood where, I wouldn't mess around in that neighborhood, sort of thing. I wouldn't go there. That seems like a bad idea, or whatever. You're going to have, oh yeah, that's that neighborhood. Don't go into that part of the town. But it's not going to be. It's not going to be the police per se. I'm just tightening up this area out here so that it doesn't. This part of town sort of seals in a little like this, so you've got beachfront property right on the beach. Yeah, soldiers end up doing all kinds of stuff, and it depends on, a lot on what is going on in that soldier's life. And in fact, our captain, our heroine, is definitely one to get involved in gambling and things like that. That's certainly fits her quite a bit. So I feel like anything where... Right, exactly. That's the thought. It's going to be MPs. So no matter which way you deal with it, the MPs are not going to be happy with you if they catch you breaking in. So that kind of stuff, it's not like a local police where the police would be like, they'd be nicer about stuff. These guys are going to be MPs, and it's going to be unpleasant if you get caught. I spend a lot of time in a brig. And that's not cool. Okay, so I'm just cleaning up some of these roads up here along the outside. Made sure that bridge looks like an actual bridge, because it is. It's sticking out over the edge there. There we go. So then we get into farming land over here. That's what this is all about. This is all farms through this zone in this section. Now, when you get down onto, right, no warrants, they just come get you. That's exactly right. But again, you're stationed aboard the Polaris. This is your home for the next 10 years, or whatever is your duty cycle. This is going to be your home. You're going to be stationed in one of these neighborhoods. You've got to report to duty on board your starship, and if you screw it up, you're just going home. That's the way it goes. Don't screw it up. They'll ship you back to the Unity, or back to your home world, where you'll be dishonorably discharged. So, though I feel like there would be gambling and there would be, that kind of stuff, sure. But thievery, probably not. People aren't going to want to end up screwing over their commission to steal from somebody's house. So I don't think the MPs are going to have a lot of trouble with this per se. Because it would really mess up how you do things and how things end up if you were to do that. So my feeling is we're probably okay. That's right, this is all lowered area, and this is raised. So this is all lowered, so we're going to have to come along here, and I put this wall back in. I just messed it up. This is a raised terrace right here. Right, exactly. See you later, David. It's good to see you. I agree with you, Donald. That's exactly right. I feel like we'd all be working really hard to make this society work. Nobody's going to be actively messing with stuff. Down into the water. And then into the bridge that goes underneath the military base right here, so you can sail underneath it. Right? We'll come around the corner here like that. We're just gonna, I don't know how far these farms are gonna go out. I mean, my thought is they probably won't go out too far, because there'll be people playing on the beach in their farms. Don't get into Uncle Joe's farm over here, kids. Right here, we got this kind of. This side over here is going to be like the lesser known beach. Not many people go to this beach because it's near the farms and the farming communities. And the farmers, they've got different things to do with their lives than to deal with kids screwing around in their farms. So, yeah, I feel like you'll have not a lot of trouble. I think your biggest problems, which is going to be one of those things, if you wanted to really have an interesting story, one of them could be, what do you do when you have a murder on board the Polaris? Right? And I'm not going to make spoilers, but that does make for a problem, right? Everybody here, in theory, is working to space is dangerous. None of that. We're a warship. We've got ships that go out and sometimes they don't come back because it's the war and that's the way it goes. So, you've got to you've got people who are going to be working really hard to try to not make this screwed up. So what happens when you do have a murder on board? Then what? Right? Then you've got a problem. There we go. And these guys go down to the beach. Little benches out here, which also work to stop people from going out onto the beach with their car or whatever. Make this little roundabout here so you can turn around and come back home if you need to. Like a parking area right here too. Like that. Yep. So, from the military base, you can deploy local aircraft from the strip, which can hit any place in the city within 2 minutes, 1 minute. Right? So, the base over here also is self-sealed. I'm actually going to roll this around. It can lock itself in, closing this huge door in the front, and it becomes part of its own thing. Yeah, I think there's a lot of trees down here. That's what these guys are, is trees. See this grove of trees right through here? Those are fruit trees. So you can just walk through this little forest to down here. So that would work just fine. But the military base has the ability to get air superiority quick. So it can actually deploy from up here. Actually, I wanted to kind of make more of this like an airfield out here, a space field. Right? We'll go in here and work on this a little. More like this. I'm going to get close here. But you were absolutely right. There would be, they can deploy craft from here at any time. And we might put a couple of them on here, on this, sort of the hovercraft just sitting there. So, a couple of like small craft just kind of hanging out on this port out here, just being, right? Go ahead and a little cockpit or whatever on these things, so you can kind of. It's hard to see at this range, but you want to be able to see that those are aircraft waiting. So they can make deployments from the field out here. And we'll go ahead and put in, like a marching field out here. The military loves to march and exercise. So yeah, kind of this. Right? And this is like a Quonset hut right through here. Sort of thing. We got a couple of little buildings in here too. Just want to make sure that this, this is the administration of the military right through this section. That's what they do. They're all military-esque. So, yes. But that's in this like industrial section. Back here is fabrication, especially across this bridge right here. So that's where a lot of that happens, is the fabrication facilities for the entire... Right? They probably just run around the city. That's it, private. Go run laps. Right? Fabrication also takes place in this section of the city, right over here. These buildings, which are not buildings, they're structures, and they're actually not even in yet right now because there's buildings here. Like this. Maybe more like that. Boy, I'm not having any luck on straight lines today, am I? Yeah, like this. These are the huge factories over here. Right? And these guys over here, all they do is just make things that are needed. And they can make things that are up to and including spaceship parts. Although they're more likely to... I'll just put some trees down here. It looks nice in this little area right here. I got these trees. Ooh, trees. I have to kind of keep in mind that I have to keep in mind a few things. One of them is that we're close to the edge right over here of the dome. So right. So my thought is, first of all, Polaris can close this armored shell over the city. It just closes in like this until it's all sealed tight. And then it's really nice and dark inside there, which that's not so good, but that's okay. I figure that these shells probably also have lights of some sort. So some of this might be lighting, like through here. Right? So that when the shells close, they probably have a whole bunch of lights that can shine into the city so that at least you can see what's going on. Well, that's an issue there. Or not necessarily an issue, but there you go. The other thing is, as I was mentioning, I had mentioned this before when we brought the Polaris the last time around, they have the ability to take a hit right here. So they're armored in a lot of ways, but the big thing is there's like thrusters on all of those pedals. So you literally can just turn on all the thrusters and they will push the shell closed to a locked position within a minute or two. So you'd have to really sneak up on this guy to make it so that you can't get to it. You know, to hit it. You'd have to really sneak up on them. And that goes under there. And it goes around this corner here. I'm noticing I didn't actually clean this up either. That's all right. So originally, my original design for the Polaris it was ovaloid. And I have since changed it to be not ovoid. Right? Exactly. And the ability for the people in the city to still be able to see. That's that road right there. Although, of course, there'll be power internally and stuff like that. It likely runs just fine on sort of a standard power plant of some sort. So out this side of the base, we're going to have these little divots over the water, overlooks. And the reason I'm doing this is because I wouldn't mind having a little space like this. I mean, if you look at this, it'd be... All these are is just overlooks. They're overlooking the water. Like here and like here. And you walk down to this overlook and look out here. Right? And then you've got water and you've got space beyond. And that's kind of cool. Right? I'm going to ahead and indicate that this is transport underable. Because my thought is you'd have obviously different things can happen at this point in time. Like you could have the parade of boats, and everybody sails their little boats under here and heads this way, and people gather right here to watch the boats go by. And kids throw things at the boats, obviously, because they're kids. And that's what kids do. So, it's having an environment on here is very, very good. It adds realism to the story. Right? There's the boat festival. And the boat festival is where they just put the boats in these and they go underneath the base here. And they sail the boats around the Polaris, because the only place where, if you launched your boat here and headed this way, you could literally sail all the way back around to here and make an orbit almost completely around. So these areas are raised, so theoretically that water could continue to go under. In fact, maybe it does. So you can make an orbit around the entire base, right? Make one solid orbit. Here we go. We'll make this wiggly so it looks like it's got water going out of it. When we do the world building on this, I love world building to a point where you can actually figure out what's happening. There's things that occur that don't happen with the main characters. That's so much fun, right? That's such a great piece of this. Maybe nobody in the game, or maybe nobody in the ship cares really about the boat festival, or maybe one character does. It doesn't matter. Anything could happen here. All of this area is raised significantly, or at least altitude enough that you can travel. So now we've made it so that you can travel all the way around the Polaris. And so what we really need is a marina. I need to figure out where the marina is. Maybe that's what this is the marina. And this is also clearance, so we need to make sure this is up and raised. I can see it coming up here, so we want to make sure that we've got enough clearance there that it looks like you can actually do that. Right through here. And it's raised up like that. Right, and this is coming up, and we got this beach here. So this cute little beach, right? Let's make sure you can get to it from the civilian side. I say civilian side because I assume that the people who are kind of in this city section over here are probably civilian-esque in some way or another. So we'll go through here and we'll just open this park up to this. And then we'll raise that up so it comes up and over. And this little park right here will kind of spread out into the beach on this side. Right there. And the road will come to an end right here. And open up into the beach. This little neighborhood right here probably has right, exactly. That's the whole point behind the water was might as well use it while we're having to deal with water anyway. And then I'll put the marina here. These are slips. And you can go out onto this marina. Have these slips going into the water. Put a boat here and a boat here. Right? Like a dragon boat festival or whatever. Very similar to the dragon boat festivals. There we go. And this is where, like, the imagination goes wherever the imagination goes. I mean, you can imagine that life on the Polaris involves a lot of things. You know, this will need to be raised up a little right through here so that we can go through and get across this middle island here. Now you kind of see, and every ship that is like this won't have the same layout. It won't have the same plan. You know, big ships, really big ships, lots of crew on board. So you're going to have, I mean, some of it's going to be the same. There's going to be water going around the outside of most of these ships. So you've got kind of that going for it. I'm going to cut this a little short right through here because we do have kind of a lot of water flowing through this section. I'm going to take that out right through there and go around here. Around this edge. There we go. And then we'll put just the water indicators to indicate that this is water going this way. Right? And the truth of the matter is, you have this much air storage. Right? You have all this air storage up here. This huge container of air. And that's what it really boils down to is we can cycle that enough that all of this right here in the forward section, we've got all of this ongoing water, or not water, but storage for everything, like the greenery. That's what I lost track of what I was thinking there. But the greenery. We got this greenery up in the front there. That front section is just all about green. And actually, now that I've got so much water going around it, I don't know if I need this little lake anymore. I mean, you think about it, that's a lot of space that could be plants or rice or something like that. What might be cool is if this all just poured right out into the ocean and I just kind of bulldozed through some of this area right here and then made it kind of go out. And that might not be a bad idea. Well, no, it doesn't need to. It just needs to go under through here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little waterfall section right here, and I'm just going to funnel it underneath here through this section. And rather than having this huge lake, which is here, I'm going to actually take the lake out, because you now have an ocean, so to speak. So we really don't need this lake right here. I'm going to take this guy And I'm going to just increase this way. This is all down in this lower deck, this platform down here. I always wonder, whenever you think about things like Macross, which had so much detail, right. Well, that was what we were doing before when we had here. We've got, these are still pressure doors. You know, they're still thinking this might still pop out. You never know, right? You never know. So what we're going to do here is we're going to run this like this. And then just run it straight out like so. And then it'll come out right here. What will happen is, this is the water processing section right under here. It's processing the water. It's coming through and coming out like this. So, you know, you've got sort of, I mean, I still feel like a crack in the dome, something like that, would be catastrophic in the city. And I feel like they probably wouldn't be hot on it, but it could still be, you know, not as horrible. So, I mean, if you did have a massive shattering of the dome, it would be very catastrophic. But there we go. And now I've opened up all of this for more fields, which is what we're going to have here. We're going to head out into these fields. Come around here with this. We'll be in this little beach area right through here. There we go, like that. And then we'll come around here. We'll just do this. There, some trees down here, just to add to the... We don't necessarily have a grove per se. Well, I appreciate that. You're talking about in beyond the Yorktown? I feel like that city was fascinating in its own way. And I don't have any problem with it, per se. Where the farmers live is right here. Right all along this little road over here. And so... And we'll go like this, we'll go like this, and then we'll have this, and we'll just have fields all along here, right? Some logic to this design. Kind of have a field or drive that goes this way and comes back around that way. Yeah, I always felt like the Yorktown ended up being much smaller than I expected. There's a lot of crossover between Macross and Star Trek. Usually Star Trek fans are also Macross fans to some degree or another. So this comes down, that comes over. I don't know what's going on right up here in this front piece right up here. I don't know if this is City Works. This is probably City Works right up here, the front part of the dome. So I would think the only thing that you could possibly put would be little teeny buildings like this right here, which are effectively like temp buildings, and that's about it. That's all you've got there, right? We don't have enough room for anything other than that. And so this area is raised. So this all comes up to this front piece up here. Kind of fun to build a diorama of this someday, you know? Kind of show physically what it looks like. I actually might do that someday. I may decide that I really want to just do this as a diorama. That'd be kind of fun. You physically see what's going on in the city. Okay. This is looking a lot more like I imagined the city being. We still got to fix this section right here. Because this is raised as well. We want it to be raised. There's so much going on here. This becomes a great place for stories, and I mean, you can see all the stories here that would be going on. And there must be water intake somewhere. So you could even have, some drama where they're on the dragon boat race here, and beep, come in. They're on the dragon boat race. And during the dragon boat race, somebody realizes that, oh no, the water intake system is still on. Whatever. I don't know. Water intake probably is right through here. So any boats going through here gets sucked into the water intake and sucked back out down this little waterfall up here. And whoa, it's a little bit rough. Yes, there is force field technology to a degree. They have gravity control. So really, a force field would just be a line of gravity that's turned on to lock like something in place. Like you could lock. They have the ability to pinpoint gravity. So water gets too cold or something like that. I'm sure that there's heating elements along the outside edge. So, but yes, they do have to some degree force field technology. I'm trying to change the technology a little bit so that there are rules. Like you can use force fields, but they have to be within a certain X number of meters from the emitter, or they have to be attached to the emitter. So the truth is that the gravity controls the big deal, right? They have the ability to project gravity. That's going to be a major plus. Being able to control gravity changes everything. That's the big technology. So there's that. There you go. I like this a whole lot better. This little lake has now been turned into more farms and things on this front piece here. So we have kind of this open water out here. Right? I mean, it's not a lot of water, but it's some. Yep. I also, I sort of imagined for that they would release almost like balloons, right? And you release these balloons that when they burst, they become a patch, right? So when you have a crack in the dome opens, that and then the air starts coming out, and they release these balloons, and the balloons then clog themselves in that hole, sort of like a blood clot in a lot of ways. And they'd come from the central core, this center core piece right here so that they could be, spread out along the dome. That was my first thought, was that there'd be something like that. So, because if you released a bunch of balloons right here and the crack was even down here, they'd be sucked really quickly to that crack, at which time they would burst and then, splash up against the dome and then become a seal until somebody can get out there and replace that. I also imagine this isn't a contiguous dome. I'm assuming it's a bunch of panes of windows that are, stuck together, and so you don't lose the dome, doesn't just crack all across it. It's not like it just blows out one pane of glass. It's just that it's so far from down here to up here that you won't see the structure between the panes of glass, the metal structure. So, yeah, and that's not closing it. Right, exactly. You could also close the shell over the dome, and that would seal the entire dome up. So it's kind of fun when we start getting in here to think about the structure of this. It's a fascinating place. We're going to be here for a while, kind of hanging out in this dome. So, we've got a lot of story to write in here. So there's going to be a lot of we're going to have to think this through sort of thing. But I do like the idea of, imagine what would happen when you're here, right, with your boat. You're just sailing through here and it's dark, all dark under here. Or maybe it's not dark. But I'll bet you anything, by the way, I bet you anything that we've got a flow to this. And I'll bet you it flows this way. I'll bet you it kind of orbits in a way this way. And I'll bet you that the water is used like a gyroscope to keep a lot of the Polaris stabilized. Because as the water flows in a direction, it keeps the Polaris moving like in a gyroscope, so it doesn't tilt or move, right? So there's probably enough water in here to actively keep the ship from tilting or altering its orbit. And it'll be facing part of this toward a star to get actual light in here. So there's that. We'll get back down into this section right here. Work a little bit more in here because I feel like this is like this. Right? It's down, but this is raised a little bit right up here. Right? It adds a stability. It's not going to just drift. The other thing, of course, is what happens if you run into one of these as a derelict, right? It'll probably be drifting and rotating like this. You'd get on board and find that the water has turned into a complete solid block of ice inside there. Sort of a thing. So that's kind of cool. And there's some interesting ideas about how to do all of that, how to make that all work. I do feel like I want to put launch bays of some sort on either side here, which I probably will. Let's go ahead and do that. And very large launch bays, because it doesn't quite look like it's got flower petals yet. So, I don't feel like it has its flower petals. It needs its flower petals. Excuse me. The neighbor is mowing, I can tell. That's how I can tell. Go in here and we'll connect this to the main section. Oop, not like that though. Just like this. We'll round this out. Ooh, undo. Eraser. We'll round this out like this. And that gives it some extra density in the edges. There. And now we have a leaf on the side over there, which is fine. Duplicate that. I'm just going to go in here and make sure that they're lined up. They're not. That's okay. Yeah, I don't know if it would be as viable to activate emergency thrusters on this ship. I think it relies heavily on the ability for its ships of the line to actually get out there and deploy and do things. There we go. We're going to then put in a circular section, which looks like this. There are 4 of these launch bays. And so we will do that, and then we will. Right? Deep Space Nine was not designed really to get out of the way of anything. It had thrusters for emergencies, but it was, woo, that was way too much. It was not any fun. Right? I mean, it was really not any fun. When it moved out of Bajoran orbit and moved itself to the wormhole, that was an unpleasant maneuver for everybody on board, for all the people. You know, it was not that was not something you wanted to do. Now we're going to go on ahead and to do this. Now these all indicate the docking doors that are in here. Right? We're going to have huge docking bays. Which would have asymmetrical doors to them. And this is where, when you're on board the Polaris, or on board the Kittiwake, which is our hero's ship, should be launching from one of these bays. Right here. Okay, coming around here. There we go. Kittiwake launches from these bays down here. Although these are large enough to launch cruisers, the Kittiwake would be out of this little guy down here. Cardassians were not great engineers. They were apparently much better at occupying than they were in actually doing stuff. There we go. I'm just making it look like these guys have an overhang on their doors. All right, just like this. And this way we can kind of right. No. Here we go, just like this. His docking doors then. A lot of knowing where everything is great and valuable when I build the sets for this particular book, because I'm going to want to know that when the Kittiwake leaves the Polaris, it's coming out of this little teeny door down here, this little docking door down here. All right? And that's where it's leaving from. Right? La, maybe not. Why did you decide, Guy, to make it numbered from the bottom up? And the answer really boils down to that way the Kittiwake is always landing in an A bay. There we go. And this would be 2. That's a lousy 2. Here's what we're going to do. 2. Then we're going to increase that to 24. No, even more than that. 72. There you go. Take this guy here. We're going to say rasterize layer. Watch this. This will be cool. Well, it won't be cool, but that's all right. Rasterize type. Then we're going to say we're going to distort. You know what? I'm just going to actually do a transform on it. All right, I'm going to transform, distort. You know what we can do? If we do this, we transform, and we say perspective. No, it's not perspective. It is transform warp. There we go. Take this guy. Why is it still an eraser? See you tomorrow, Donald. It was good to have you here. And we'll put 4 over here. We'll do the same thing. We'll warp. All right. We only have a few more minutes left, about 10 minutes left, and I'm still working on sort of where we're going with this. So we've got 3 right here, 2 and 4, and then 1 will be on the reverse side. So up here, this is a large dock, which we'll call dock 5. And I'm going to start right here. We're going to do this. This is dock 5. All right. Okay. 5 can hold a very large ship. So we're going to go in here. We're going to look at this guy here. We're going to actually erase this. We're going to go in here and go bork. We'll say very small, smaller, 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 like this. There we go. this just a little bit smaller. And the reason I'm doing this is because I feel like this should be A bay, so to speak, on this, or this should be 1. I'm going to go through here, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase out that, like that, and I'm going to pull out this guy. I had it reversed because I was like, oh yeah, the hero will always land in A bay because it's the hero. But then I started to think about it, and I'm like, well, in reality, I think that the larger bays would be A, B, and then of course our hero just lands in C bay. It's a little teeny bay under the bottom, which makes total sense, I feel like. I'm going to turn off that. I'm going to turn off that, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to say Control-Shift-E, right? So now we're looking at the fundamental design of this station. We've got a good example of what's going on right here. Good example of what's going on right here. I liked this to sort of indicate what's going on up here, but the truth is I think I want to use this for key neighborhoods. So I'm going to take and I'm going to delete this section right here because as much fun as that is, I don't think that helps me much on this map. And we're going to go over here and we're going to talk about key neighborhoods. Like this neighborhood right here is going to be the key neighborhood, and this little like section right here with this park, this is where a lot of my story is going to be taking place. So what I'm going to really want here is to take this neighborhood right here. Actually, let's not do that. I'm going to go from, let's say, here out to there, back around the inside of the gate of the military base to about here, right, with this little park and stuff. And we're just going to Control copy, and I'm going to back out, and we're going to say Control paste, right? Turn it upside down. Take this little guy. No, why does it always grab the exact wrong thing? Take that little guy right there. Do this the hard way. Okay. I'm going to go for this. I'm just going to blow this all the way up. Like this. And this will be this neighborhood right through here. And then I'll use this as a blueprint later for who lives where, how these parks work, things like that. So I'm not going to use it yet because I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to put this on top of it. and turn that on, and that's going to make it darker, and then I'll be able to come through here with a much more storied approach on how this neighborhood works. So we'll be able to come in and just do a little bit of work like this, right? And get ourselves this here. And yeah, now you'll be able to see the actual little roads that make up this park. So that if I ever come to the point where I want to have them walk through this park, they can. The characters can. You'll be able to see this park. Now as a closer, this is the neighborhood of the Kittiwake. The Kittiwake's neighborhood. Right? So we can go through here and just do this line to there, and this line to there. There we go. Most of the streets around here are rounded. Except for apparently that street right there. Okay, going through here. There we go, just like this. Excellent. Come back in here, and I'm just going to round off these corners. Ooh, I'm going to apparently make a mess. It's okay. Alright, we've got this little alcove which looks out over the water. Right here. We've got this round building right here. And we're going to have the water wall, which goes that way and overlooks the water. Right. And so, we move along here. We're going to have the same water wall that goes along this way to here. And we're going to do this. There we go. Come along here and along the back side of this. Another one of those outside protrusion sort of casts that allow you to get on the outside of the water wall. Just like that. Okay, guys. That's where we're going to put an end to it, right here. We're still working on a little neighborhood where our heroes are going to live. And, you know, it's one of those things where we'll come back tomorrow and we'll keep working on this, and it'll be an interesting thing. So, okay, until then, I will see you all later, and have an excellent day, and I hope that you do well and all is happy and you have an awesome evening.